What's up guys, Everything Apple Pro here, and it's never too early to start talking about the next generation iPhone. So in this video, I wanted to talk about the iPhone 7. There's been a lot of word, a lot of rumors about what this new device could be, and I know it's barely been 2 months since the 6S and 6S Plus release, but that's why I wanted to get a head start and see what could possibly be new with this new iPhone. So the reason I like making these videos, for one, is to fill you guys in on information, but I love going back and looking at them later. With the 6S and 6S Plus, when you're looking back at the rumors from my earlier videos, I actually realized that 75 to 80% of them were true. I mean, the timing, maybe a little bit of the details are a little bit off, but the basic principle of the rumor is true, and I was surprised about that. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing all of the latest rumors about the iPhone 7, iPhone 7 Plus, and iPhone 7 mini. Alright, so before I jump into the details, I wanted to mention about where I get my information. Where are these sources coming from? I'm not just pulling this out of my butt, guys. This is actual analyst information, and it's very valuable. Now, the #1 Apple analyst that's proved time and time again to be the most reliable on the planet Earth, and he's actually been named the best Apple analysts on the planet by Business Insider and the most reliable industry watcher on the planet by BGR. That's a big title to hold. So this guy's actually got a track record that goes back many years with Apple, and about 75 to 85% of his rumors proved to be true. Now, that doesn't mean that all of them were 100% true. Some of them had variations. Timing was off, details were off, but this guy, time and time again, proves to be one of the most reliable Apple leaker on this planet. So based on his rumors, based on some other rumors, I'll source them as well. I'm going to be talking about the iPhone 7. So I just want you guys to know I'm not making this up. I mean, this isn't something that I'm thinking of, oh, it's going to happen because I thought of it. No, I mean, these are actual Apple analysts. These guys have proven time and time again to be reliable for the most part anyways. Now, what is this guy saying? He's saying that there's going to be 3 models of the iPhone coming in 2016. The iPhone 7, the iPhone 7 Plus, and the iPhone 7 mini. So I'm going to start with the 7 mini because to me that's one of the most interesting products that he was talking about. So the iPhone 7 mini would obviously be geared towards people that don't need a larger display. A lot of people are certainly happy with the iPhone 5S display. A lot of people don't want to upgrade because they don't want to upgrade sizes. Apple didn't give them a choice. You know, it's either upgrade, get a bigger phone, or stay on your old one. So Apple's taking a look at the market. They realize the 5S is still selling very, very well. Not because it's cheap for some people just like the smaller display. So they're going to be releasing a 4-inch iPhone 7 variant. Now, the only thing that is unfortunate with, you know, the smaller iPhones is that Apple, for some reason, associates smaller size with lower specs. A lot of people want a smaller phone. They don't want slower power, though. This analyst is saying that Apple's going to put the Apple A9 chip in there, while the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus will be getting the A10 chip. So it sucks that getting a smaller phone means that you're getting slower power as well. So details are scarce on this iPhone 7 mini. It won't likely be called a 7C because the materials will be different. This analyst is saying that it'll be made of more premium materials. The iPhone 5C, the C stood for cheap, so the materials were a downgrade from the iPhone 5S. Not so much this time, so it'll be called 7 mini likely. I mean, far from guaranteed, but it could likely be called that because Apple wouldn't want to associate the C with being cheap when the materials are so nice. It's the internals that would be downgraded. So this 7 mini, although we don't know much about it, the analyst already said it'll come with the Apple A9 chip and it won't have 3D touch. So it'll be a downgraded version of the 7, which again sucks because some people just like the smaller display. They don't want to have to downgrade to get it. Now, a couple things I thought were interesting. Apple's already reportedly set a sales prediction for it, 20 to 30 million units by the end of the 2016 year, which to me says that they're actually putting a lot of thought into this thing. They want to sell them and they have a market for them. So that's the iPhone 7 mini. Thought that guy was really interesting. I would like to see one of those. Now, the iPhone 7. So this thing obviously is going to have a huge redesign in the actual form factor. We're so used to this standard design with the iPhone 6S and 6S Plus, the rounded edges. It's time for something new, isn't it? Something a little sharper, perhaps. Now, with the design, nobody knows. Unless another one gets leaked at a bar or something, we really won't know on design. All the concept art you see everywhere, you know, that's just people predicting based off of the past, what they think Apple could release. So what he's saying is that Apple's going to want to clearly reposition the difference between the 7 and 7 Plus. They're actually going to put a power difference in between these phones. So right now, the difference between the 6S and 6S Plus is very minor. A little bump in resolution, bigger battery, you know, obviously larger display, and there's no actual power difference. There's a camera difference with optical image stabilization, but, you know, they're the same powered phone. Now, the 7 and 7 Plus could have a difference in RAM. The 7 Plus could likely have 3 gigabytes of RAM, with the regular 7 staying at 2. Now, I personally think this makes sense. The 6S right now performs fantastically. The 6S Plus doesn't do so well because it has to deal with a larger display with the same amount of power. It would make sense to give the 7 Plus a slight boost in power, you know, to make up for the difference in pixels it has to push. So I think that's a decently good idea, but a lot of people could be angered by having that class difference between the 7 and 7 Plus. Alright, so that just about does it. Rumors coming from this analyst, but there is another one that's been saying a lot about the iPhone. Some of his predictions have proven to be true. He's just not accurate, and that would be Gene Mustard. So what he's saying is that there's about a 50% chance chance that the new iPhone 7 might not have a physical home button. It could either be implemented into the touch display or it could be a separate touch sensor. So what he's saying is there's a good chance that might not appear in the iPhone 7. He's also saying Apple could focus a lot on the battery life. In the past 5 years, Apple's almost doubled the life of the MacBooks. I mean, from 5 hours to 10 hours on a single charge. That is really, really good, and it's about time the iPhone 7 got that treatment. He believes that the battery life is one of the biggest and potential areas of improvement on the iPhone 7, but some contradicting information is that actually Johnny Ive in an interview said that Apple doesn't like to make sacrifices for battery life if it has to come from another area of the phone. They don't want battery life to be a main focus. It's kind of a secondary thing to the actual phone, the design, and everything else, and that's Apple for you, you know, but the battery life is still pretty good as is. If Apple could improve it just a little bit, I would be happy. If they don't, if they keep it the same, I would still be happy because for me, it's not a problem. I don't run out with my 6S Plus. Now, this guy is also saying that a sapphire display could be likely. He's saying that Apple already took some tech from the Apple Watch, the material, put it in the 6S, but it's not good enough. They're going to go all the way, and sapphire display is very likely because manufacturing, all that, it's already been covered. It's being used in the Apple Watch. You know, we might be getting a sapphire display. That'd be really cool. And the last thing from this analyst is he said that the 16GB storage size will be phased out. So we'll start at 32GB. It's what every other phone manufacturer is doing right now. Apple is really in a world of their own with their small size tier, but hopefully that gets phased out. There's no excuse for why it's still in existence in 2015. So there's actually a patent filed by Apple for a slimmer headphone jack. If you take a look at it, the sides are shaved off, and this could be because of a thinner iPhone. Now, Apple's actually gotten serious about stronger materials, so a thinner design could be possible for the iPhone 7. This patent shows that that could be possible, but in order to force all other companies to adapt, you know, that would take a while. A lot of people would be unhappy if their old headphones suddenly didn't work with the new iPhone. So at this point, I want to talk about less likely things like maybe they'll happen, maybe they won't. And, you know, these aren't guaranteed, these aren't backed by anybody, but it's just a long time coming for them, and it'd be nice to see them on the new iPhone. So next is higher resolution. Now, I know Steve Jobs himself says that the human eye can't see past 300 pixels per inch. However, that's a myth. And that's not the first time Apple was wrong. Apple took back their word several times about smaller displays, touch styluses, and now about resolution. So Steve Jobs, as we know, said that at 10 to 12 inches, the human eye cannot distinguish past 300 pixels per inch. Well, that's not true. Actual studies show that at 10 to 12 inches, you'd need a PPI of 573 pixels per inch in order for that to be an accurate statement. Right now, Apple's at 326 with the iPhone 6S. All competitors, you know, are far above that with their QHD displays, so it's a real shame that Apple's falling behind in that. So USB 3.1C connectors could be the standard. They're actually very similar in size to the Lightning connector on the iPhones right now, but this would mean that Apple needs to change all of their jacks once again. So many people were mad about it with the Lightning change, but it's been 4 generations already with the standard Lightning jack. Before that, with the 30-pin, it was 5 generations. So I think it's time for an upgrade, and it makes sense. With USB 3.1, you can get up to 10 gigabytes per second transfer speed. For comparison, with the current USB 2.0 standard on the 6S and 6S Plus, you get 480 megabits per second. So that would be a huge upgrade. So a lot of manufacturers are already doing it. Google with their Nexus phones and a couple other manufacturers. It's the future. It makes sense. If Apple's serious about USB 3.1, they're going to put it in the next generation iPhone. An Apple insider is actually saying, based on a reliable source, that the release could be pushed back earlier to summer of 2016. Now, a lot of people are doubting that. It's very out of line for Apple to make an iPhone release sooner, but it's not the first time it's happened. With the iPads earlier, they actually released them even before it was a full year between refresh cycles in order to get the iPad Air out. That was the iPad 4. So could it happen? Sure. Is it likely? Not very much, even though it's been rumored. So another less likely rumor is new materials. Apple owns Liquid Metal Company. They actually owned it for several years already, and the only place they use it is for the pin ejector tool on the iPhone. I actually just got one in the mail, and it's really nice compared to off-brand ones, but they don't use it in any of their materials or any of the iPhones right now, and a new chassis on the iPhone 7 could be made of it, allowing for thinner phones, more durable phones. You know, it's not likely, but it could happen. And lastly, there's some talk about more waterproofing. On the 6S and 6S Plus, Apple actually made it more water resistant with a seal inside of the phone that the 6 and 6 Plus didn't have, but could they take that further with the 7? Possibly. Some sources are saying Apple is testing waterproofing, but I find it unlikely for Apple to do that. You know, they'd rather recommend a case for people to use. Alright guys, so that's just about it. I wanted to talk about the iPhone 7, 7 Plus, and 7 Mini. And with these rumors that are floating around already, you know, it's really interesting. The 7 Mini could be a really cool device like the 5C, but better. Also, the 7 Plus being more powerful than the 7, I thought that was interesting. And although details are scarce, the iPhone 7 is looking up to be a great phone, great replacement to the 6S. Cannot wait to get one, test it. Hopefully it'll be a lot more durable than the 6S, even though that's pretty good. Just